Welcome to Blender Days, a podcast about media. I'm Jacanna.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we're going to talk about the Last of Us franchise.
Yes, specifically the first game in the first season of the show.
We won't be touching very much, if at all, on the second game.
No, I don't think there's a point yet. It's not the show, the season's not out or anything, so.
And the speed draw underneath is Adventure Time style, but the Last of Us characters, which, by the way, very sad vibes. It's got some heavy sad vibes going on.
I mean, both are pretty sad shows.
I mean, parts of Adventure Time are very fun and not sad.
Oh,
it's only once you start thinking about Adventure Time that you go, oh, this is really sad. This is really getting me in the feels.
But we're talking about The Last of Us.
We are talking about The Last of Us, which has no happy times, unlike Adventure Time. There is
very minimal happiness.
There's no happiness. Oh. It's all sad. Sometimes it's fucked up, but it's all sad.
It's fucked up a lot.
Oh, big news in Blender Days. We are now on podcasts.
Oh, yes. We are on every major podcast platform. Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, all of them.
You can find us under Blender Days. We are rated E. Now, I saw that, and right away I went to Jordan. I went, oh, you rated us E for everyone.
No.
That's so nice.
No, it's E for explicit, because we do swears.
We swear a lot, and we don't really hold back. This isn't my normal amount of swearing.
I don't censor it.
If you're looking just for the audio, though, you can find us on podcast platforms. And if you're interested in seeing our speed draw without watching me speed draw through it on... Oh, don't worry about that. The coppers are coming. I don't know if you can hear that.
They can hear it.
It's actually an ambulance.
Yes, but... Yeah, if you want to just listen to it, we're available on all audio podcast platforms. And if you want to watch the video with the speed draw... It'll be on YouTube. Same day, every Wednesday.
If you're just interested in the picture, though, you can find it on our Instagram. We'll have an updated picture.
Yeah, if you don't want to listen to the podcast at all, but you do want to see the pictures, just follow us on Instagram.
I was saying more like if they're listening just to the audio, but they're still curious about the drawing.
They have no interest in this. They're just like, yeah, but I want to see those mashups. Could be fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what our Instagram is, just mashups.
Next time, do Sonic match up with Shrek.
Oh, I would hate that so much.
Oh, it's terrible.
That would be such a, hideous piece of artwork.
No, we're avoiding the topic. We should talk about The Last of Us.
It's so sad.
Oh, yeah. Well, as somebody, you have not played the game, and you did not finish watching the show with me.
Okay, yes, but to be fair... I have watched him play through the game one full time. Completely, I watched him play through the whole game and half. There was another time where I watched him play through about half of the game. This is Jordan's favorite game.
I've played through this game at least 4 or 5 times, like fully complete.
So he was very excited when they announced the show, and I wanted to watch it with him. Now, I don't watch horror, like at all.
No, nothing scary.
I have a fairly overactive imagination, and it will give me nightmares for like 2 weeks straight, like just straight at least. That being said, I really liked and enjoyed watching him play through this game, and I wanted to watch it with him because I knew some of the people who were going to be playing the characters, and it looked like it was going to be really well done. And it's not necessarily horror.
No, but there are moments in it with the clickers and the suspense. This show, the game and the show both know how to build suspense. They know how to something bad is coming.
But I watched like the first 3 episodes before I said I can't.
You watched up to the Bill episode, right? Bill and Frank.
I watched the Bill and Frank episode. Yeah. And then I knew what was coming after. So I specifically watched him play through everything in the game because I thought that would help me watch the show. It would help with like my anxiety, and if I knew what was going to happen, that it would be better. But it turns out, me personally, that really backfired because I knew what was going to happen, and it was just so much harder to watch it
and
again.
I replayed the game like right before the show came out. Like I finished it, and it was like a week later the first episode was out.
Yeah, so it was very fresh for us. I do intend to go and watch the show at some point, perhaps when I have a better hold on my anxiety. For right now, I just can't.
Yeah.
Even though I really enjoyed the parts of the show I did watch.
Oh, it's good, and I thought like the actor choices for all the characters I thought they did a really good job with that too, and I thought they changed the story like just enough. Like
I thought Pedro Pascal was an interesting choice. I wasn't sure about him as Joel at first before I started watching it because I knew that he was going to be playing Joel.
well, I think like when the game first came out was I can't remember if it was around the same time as Logan or if I just played the game again, but the movie Logan with Hugh Jackman, Wolverine.
Yep.
And he's got the little girl, and everybody wanted Hugh Jackman to be Joel in the Last of Us show. And I agreed with him because after watching Logan, it was like, yeah, he's a grumpy dude who's got to take care of a feisty little girl.
Yeah.
But the choice to cast Pedro Pascal was pretty genius.
I thought he did a great job. I was just unsure about it at first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a casting director. You know, I'm not doing a good job because I thought he was great. At first, I definitely thought like Pedro Pascal as Joel. I don't know.
He's got a really soft, kind face.
Yeah.
So it was hard to imagine him in the role without seeing him act it out. But he does a great job
because Joel
acting it out.
Is a soft, kind person at first. It's when his daughter dies, spoilers, and the world is thrown through a loop that he really hardens down, and he is just a sad, angry man.
Yeah, I mean, at no point does Joel get a happy ending. I mean, no one in this show gets a happy ending except for maybe Bill and Frank.
In the show, Bill and Frank get the closest thing to a happy. In the game, not so much, because in the game, when you get to that part in the game,
Frank's already dead.
Frank has killed himself. Frank got infected and he killed himself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really delve too deep into the relationship. I like how the show really it delved into their relationship, showed what it was.
It changed their relationship too in a very positive way because like my impression when I was watching you play through the game of Frank was that he was sleazy. He was
Bill
just
and
a
Frank
sleazy
were both
person.
Way sleazier in the game than they were.
Well, yeah, they were both sleazy. It was nice that they made it so bittersweet, but it was a nice change. I was glad to see it.
Yeah.
It made me really like these characters quite a bit more. I didn't care for either of them in the game. I mean, Bill comes off as okay, and Frank comes off as sleazy.
You know, Bill's like a crazy asshole. And you can't it's hard to think somebody could be with him, but after you watch the episode with him, he has a soft side.
Yeah. Oh, I did really think the as far as looks go, that their casting for Bill was really good.
Yeah, that was
very spot on.
Nick Offerman, which I don't think you would know him from anything, but he was popular in Parks and Rec, which was very similar to The Office in style. It was one of those kinds of shows.
I've heard of Parks and Rec. I've never watched it. I think you've mentioned it to me before, but
I watched it a lot. I was a big fan of Nick Offerman, and I thought he was a great choice for this character.
He did a great job as Bill. Now, that being said, the whole time I watched that episode the first time through, I was waiting for Frank to turn out to be sleazy, not because of how he was played or anything, but just because of my experience with the video game. I was kind of waiting for it.
Yeah, when Frank is first introduced to, it's like, is this a guy he's just trying to take advantage of Bill? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't. You know,
no,
there was a genuine love there.
There was, and it was nice to see. If I had never watched you play through the games or anyone else, I wouldn't have had that impression of him in the episode. It was only because I was pulling from my pre-biased of the game.
I also like how I believe in the game Frank gets infected and that's why he kills himself. But I like in this one it was because he was sick. He did not get infected. He was sick and he was dying. And he had lived his life with Bill. Yeah,
they had a lot of good, genuine years together.
It was like 20-something years, right? Because the game is set 20 years after the start of the apocalypse, or the show.
I mean, it's got to be around 20 years that they had together. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less.
Yeah.
But it was nice.
But that would probably be the biggest change from the game to the show, and I thought it was a good choice.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I mean, the fact that they changed Sarah, that's Joel's daughter's ethnicity in the beginning, that really didn't change anything.
No, it didn't
It
affect
didn't
the
change
show.
how I looked at her as his
It
daughter.
just, she was a different actress. Yeah. That's all it was.
I thought she was really quite good.
She was great at that, yeah. It was sad to see her go.
It was. Yeah, I mean, both in the game and on the show, it's such a brutal introduction to this story.
Yeah.
It's like really telling you, like, you know, put it down now if you're not ready for this.
It told you when you first start the game that we're not holding back. Like, we are not gonna hold back. Like,
right.
We kill a kid in the first episode. Get ready. And then your main characters, Joel and Ellie. You have Ellie, which is she's just experienced a shit show of a life the entire time.
I mean, any life you make in the apocalypse, in this version of the apocalypse, is not gonna be great. Pleasant.
No, it's not gonna be great.
But that being said, Ellie has a particularly shitty deal in life.
Yeah, being the only immune person with no family at all.
Yeah.
Everybody you come in contact with seems to die.
Well, also, every stranger you're introduced to, you have to take a gamble with what information you can be honest with them. Like, and that's going to be so hard on a young preteen girl, or not preteen. She is a teenager, isn't she?
Yeah, she's 14.
Yeah, a young teenage girl in the apocalypse. And then you also have to pick and choose how much information every single person you come into contact with you can give.
Yeah,
it's hard.
You can't trust anyone, which is why I understand when you get to the part in the show and the game where you get to Tommy, who's Joel's brother.
Right.
Why she doesn't want to leave Joel. This is the one person she's gone with that she can trust fully.
Right.
You know? And I know, Tommy is Joel's brother. Joel trusts him, but it doesn't matter.
No, she doesn't know Tommy.
She knows Joel. And Joel, as far as she knows, has never steered her wrong.
I do really like Joel as a character. He does remind me a lot of Jordan, which I don't know if that's why Jordan likes this game so much, but he is a realistic take on surviving brutal circumstance.
I like
He's
how
not soft.
Yeah, they did it they do it more nowadays, like in The Walking Dead, the main guy Rick.
I never watched The Walking Dead.
I watched the first. I've read most of the comic, but I watched the first 2 seasons. But
I also haven't read the comic.
It very quickly gets to the point where it shows you how you're gonna be in apocalypse. Like, they were not taking any shit, and that's what Joel was doing. He was not taking any shit. Like,
yeah,
you immediately get hard or you go down.
Yes.
And I like how Joel was not a straightforward, good guy. Like, just because you play him in the game or he's the main character, he's not a good guy.
No, I mean, till the end, he is kind of a villain.
I mean, he ends, spoiler for the end, is not a great ending for him.
No, he murders a bunch of people, one of which he considered a friend.
He murdered a bunch of innocent people, too, not just...
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
For a fairly selfish reason.
Yeah, he thought Ellie deserved to live, and he didn't ask her consent on the matter.
No, but to be fair to Joel, though, I do think that they should have told Ellie what was going to happen. They did just knock her out and immediately were going to kill her. They should have told her and allowed her to make the decision. She was old enough.
She came all this way world for this decision. She should have had the last say.
Yeah.
Now, hands down, do I agree with what Joel did? Yes. Was it the right thing to do? No.
No, but
it wasn't.
After when I first played the game, by the time you get to that point, you're like, nobody's gonna touch this girl. I will fucking do anything to protect her.
Well, like I said, I totally understand where he's coming from. Would I make the same choice? Given the means, yes. I mean, I don't think I'm capable of that kind of murder, just not with my skill set. I trip all the time. There's no way I could pull that off. But I would make the same choice. But making the same choice and agreeing with someone's motives doesn't make it right.
No.
I understand that. I understand that what Joel does is wrong, regardless of if I completely 100% agree with it. Because It's wrong.
It is wrong.
He's wrong.
It is wrong. And
He's wrong for the best reasons.
As much of a hero as Joel is, he's not a hero. He's just a man trying to survive and trying to keep what little he has together.
Well, because Joel isn't a hero. Everyone always wants your hero to be a Prince Charming, but that's not what Joel is. Joel is a knight.
Yeah.
And knights aren't Prince Charmings. They do your dirty work.
Yeah.
And maybe they save you, but they only save you if they're on your side. Guess what? A knight can work for whoever they want. You know?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of hero Joel is. He's not the knight, he's not the Prince Charming.
Yeah, I mean, even in the show and the game, he states it. He has done terrible things. Like, a big part of it is when they're in a city and they're in a truck and they crash and they get stopped by a bunch of like gang bandits.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Joel knows what's gonna happen because he's pulled the same exact stunt. Somebody acts like they're injured, you stop to help them, and you're jumped by 50 dudes. Joel's like, no, I know what's happening. I've done this. I was a raider. I've done this exact thing.
I thought that was the scariest part in the game, is getting through that first town with the raiders, and before you meet Sam.
Sam and his brother. God, it's slipping my. I've played this game 100 times and I cannot remember what his brother's name is.
I don't know. Sam is pretty easy to recall.
Well, he says his name a lot, but Sam is the little brother.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's why his name gets called. Anyways, before you meet them, that first part before they get
Henry.
Oh, yeah, Henry. That is it. That part really, I thought that was the scariest part in the whole game. It's your first real introduction to there are more enemies than the virus.
Yeah, it's not just
the infected.
It's
people are your enemy. People aren't out to help each other. They're out to help themselves.
Yeah.
And you see that again. That's a reoccurring theme throughout the story.
I think the second time it happens, when Joel is injured and it's just Ellie, that for me was like the most tense part of the game.
I don't know. To me, I just thought it was like Ellie's gonna get through this. To me, I just knew she was gonna get through it.
I mean, yeah, but still,
it's like really sad. Like when she like curls up next to him on the mattress on the floor in the basement, and she's just talking to him the whole time, even though he's unconscious. I think it's like super sad, and it's very touching and emotional. But I didn't find that part that scary.
It was when she was taken and she was in the cage, and you find out that this dude's a cannibal, but he's also like a pedophile. You're like, you get worried for Ellie. You're like, something could happen to her. Like,
I do love how Ellie sticks to her guns the whole time, and she's very Ellie the whole time, and she's just like, yeah, you can tell him I'm the little girl who fucking broke your arm.
Yeah, well, it's when you
or finger. I think it was his finger.
His finger. But when in the game, when you get to the part where Joel is up and he is now going after Ellie, I'm always like, go, guns fucking blazing, like I'm fucking gotta get to her.
I mean that whole arc also. Really, I thought I couldn't handle that arc either.
No.
Actually, that arc was one of the biggest reasons I stopped watching the show, is because I knew it was coming, and it was a pretty dark.
Yeah, it's like 2 episodes before that happens in the show. Is an episode I think you could watch. It's just when they're in Jackson, when they find Tommy. And it's really just like a relationship building, character world building episode. Then the next episode, where it's at the end of that episode, is when Joel is injured. And then the next episode it was the DLC for the game, but it is the Left Behind episode where you find out how Ellie got infected with her friend Riley.
Oh yes,
something yeah. I don't think you have seen, because I didn't play the DLC for you.
You did not play the DLC for me. Now you had told me about it a little bit,
yeah.
But I heard also that they expanded. You told me a lot about what they. I kept asking what was happening in the show, because I do want to watch it. I just can't. But I can hear a play-by-play description for some reason. I don't know. Anyways.
It's different than seeing it.
You were telling me a lot about this episode and like this particular part of the story. And does it add to the story 100%? Does it make it even sadder? Also, yes.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, could you have not put it in? Probably. Like, you could have skipped that episode. There's a reason it was DLC for the game.
Right.
But it rounds out Ellie's character, and it kills off another person you like.
Well, yeah. I mean, the hardest part about watching the show is that if it's not Joel and Ellie, you know they're going to die.
Yeah.
And like,
well, there's a good chance. Yeah.
Any character that you meet is like, well, they're probably going to die.
That was I guess the one of the harder deaths in the game was Sam when he is infected.
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe it. I watched you play through it, and I watched that cutscene, and I went, did he just blow his brain? It was Henry.
Yeah, Sam gets infected, turns.
And then Joel shoots him because he's attacking Ellie.
It's worse because he's attacking Ellie. Joel tries to get him. Henry shoots Sam.
That's right.
And then Henry kills himself because he just killed his little brother, who is, I think Sam says he's like 12 or something, but he's really like 8. Like, he's lying to seem cool to Ellie, but he's like an 8-year-old kid, which I think they make that clear in the show more.
Yeah. And like, Henry has spent his whole apocalyptic life taking care of his little brother.
Yeah, Henry does
like,
not
this
have...
is the only reason for living is to keep...
I think Henry's like 25, so he was like 5 when this apocalypse started. Like, he's early 20s, maybe 30.
Yeah.
And his brothers know nothing but this life. I did think it was cool that they made his brother was I don't know if he was deaf or mute in the show, but they changed that about his character. He was he wrote on it's like a board, like I don't know, it's like one of those magnet board things you can write on.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch that episode, so I wasn't aware of that.
Wait, it's a great way to make this already like vulnerable character even more vulnerable. Hey, guess what? He can't hear, or he can't talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I would wonder how many kids growing up in this kind of environment would just be mute, though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was traumatic. I cannot remember because I only watched the season once, and it was when it came out, so it was like a month ago.
Yeah, I knew someone and their daughter who was like 7 suddenly lost the ability to talk, and I was like, "Oh, am I still going?"
No, you're going.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, it was a big deal because I mean, it's always a big deal, and I imagine a lot of kids growing up in this kind of environment just they wouldn't have your normal functions. They're constantly living on adrenaline and, you know, the fact that they could die at any given moment. Their society is pieced together with scraps.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even, like, when you play the game or watch the show, you'll notice there's not a lot of children. And I don't know if it's just because they didn't want to hire a bunch of kid actors, but also it just makes sense for the world. Who's having kids? Like, is that really a good idea?
Yeah. I imagine there's not that many kids, and the ones that are around are not getting much of a childhood, if any, at all.
No, I imagine you're trained to at least shoot a gun from an early age. You need to be able to defend yourself in this world.
Yeah, the fact that Sam couldn't talk is altogether not surprising.
No, and it just
if it was a medical problem, there's no way he was getting medical help. If it was like...
Oh, that's right. Sam had, in the show, I think it was Sam had cancer, and that's why Henry was being hunted down by the group of people, because he betrayed them to get medicine or something. Like I said, I only watched it once, so I'm not remembering everything exactly. It's a bit different than the game. Because in the game, they're just trying to get to their group on the outside of the city. But in the show, Henry and Sam were from the city, and Henry betrays them or something, gives them up to get medicine for his brother because his brother is sick.
Oh, okay. Awful place to be. I would never wish the apocalypse on anyone.
This is like, it's such a harsh and I like how it's like you watch The Walking Dead or like the Resident Evil movies. It's usually set within a few days or a month of when the apocalypse starts. This is set 20 years later. This shit's been going on for a while, and it's only getting worse.
You know what that's kind of reminiscent of, though? Is Adventure Time.
Yes.
Because we're like, I mean, what is Adventure Time? It's like a couple thousand years.
It's like 1,000 years in the future, something like that.
It's pretty crazy. I liked what they did with their world. I mean, it's much happier, so it's easier to like.
Yeah, well, it's
a fun take.
Further than this, so it's like there's different evolution that's taken place, and the world has changed.
Oh yeah,
like you can see it somewhat in The Last of Us with like Jackson, where Joel's brother is. Mm-hmm. Some people are trying to rebuild. this could become a city or like a big town, like a well-fortified, like safe haven.
Well, I mean, I don't want to give spoilers alerts. I don't want to give anything away, and I don't think it is. But you see in the beginning of the second game that it has been built up a little bit.
Yeah, it becomes
a safe haven,
something like a normal life.
Yeah,
like kids there can grow up and live somewhat of a normal life. I mean, they might get a job when they're older. You got to do patrols. You're gonna have to kill infected occasionally.
I mean, you might have a life expectancy of 60 there, which is better than almost anywhere else.
Yeah, your life expectancy is 40.
At best.
At best.
Yeah. It isn't a fun take on the apocalypse, but it does feel like a realistic one.
It feels like if this was a possibility, it's a realistic take,
Oh, we should talk about the infected a little bit, how it's so heavily based on real fungus.
Yeah, it's based on the cordyceps virus, which they mention a lot. Mm-hmm. And it's really not something that without some sort of crazy evolutionary line could actually happen. But they do infect, ants, right?
Yeah, they can infect ants, and then the ants have the chance of infecting, like, cows who accidentally eat them on grass. It's not as direct as it is a lot more.
It's a little different, and it's clearly not as violent as it is in the game, and it's not turning them into like fungus monsters. But it is like it's a cool thing that it's kind of based in reality.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, like, as far as like logic and plot holes go, my biggest problem with it is the spore zones.
Yeah, it's a little, like, especially in the game where it's just like, oh, I can see the spores, better put on my mask. Like, those spores haven't leaked out any further.
I know.
You're not going to catch a stray spore.
You leave, like, bread out on your counter, and you're a relatively clean person, right? That's still going to develop mold because they're just in the air all the time. No,
I get it's a game mechanic, and it's it's interesting, but as much as I love the game, I can say that is a weird, like,
it's a weird. I mean, they wanted to explain it somehow. Well, like, the spread, and of course it's spores because they're fungal.
They're much. Well, I think
but like, I don't know.
In the show, it's a little different how they spread.
Oh yeah,
it seems to spread more like a branching.
Like moss?
Like a moss, yeah, kind of like a moss. Yeah. It seems to be a little different.
I mean, and that's fair. That's really my biggest problem with the plot.
No, I did.
Is the spores.
I did think the costume design and stuff for the show, for the clickers and the infected, was really good.
Oh yeah, I looked up some up close, like, makeup video footage, or like makeup artist footage, behind the scenes stuff. It looked really, really great. Like, so much so that when I was looking up reference pictures for my speed draw, that it was hard to tell what was from the show and what was from the video game.
Yeah, they did a good job of like mimicking the style.
They did an excellent job.
One of the best things about this is, and if I've not played the game, I recommend playing it with headphones, because the sound design for this game is ridiculously good, and it gets better. It gets better in the second game. Not that we're talking about that, but the sound design is fantastic. When it gets very quiet, when there's clickers around and you have to listen for them, and the noises they make are so unnerving.
That's something I really liked about the game, and the game mechanics is like Joel's echolocation deal.
Oh, yeah, he's got super hearing.
I mean, it's up there with the spores, like, when it just doesn't really make sense. But I really enjoyed that mechanic, so I let it pass.
I thought it was funny. There's a line in the show, and I remember it because he has super hearing in the game. Mm-hmm. He goes, "Oh, I can't really hear out of my ear, all the gunfire." And I was like, "Don't you have super hearing, Joel?" And I was like, it's more realistic. Of course, he's been shooting guns for the past 20 years. He would have hearing damage.
Yeah.
I do like that little difference there.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Because it both works better in the show storytelling, and it works better in the game for mechanics.
It makes sense for the game, for like a gaming mechanic to have.
Very fun. The clickers are my favorite of the infected types. Oh, I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah. The way they move, how erratic and how like fast. It's such a scary infected to fight. Like, I've also played a lot of the Resident Evil games. And they're scary for a different reason, but like their infected is like typical zombie.
Oh, yeah.
Or at least the early ones is what I'm referencing. I know it's a little bit different nowadays. Now you have big, tall vampire ladies.
Oh, yeah, but she is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I love a big, tall, strong lady.
Who doesn't?
My general rule of thumb for dating people is, can you pick me up? And that answer, the answer needs to be yes. That's it. That's my bar. Pretty much, I'll date anyone, but can you pick me up? And yes, you are required to pick me up if we are dating constantly.
Yeah.
But that's it. That's my only physical requirement of a person. I like to be held.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I got distracted by because I remember the big tall vampire
Don't
lady.
reference the big tall vampire lady. Got
She's
it.
so great though. I like her.
We
Great
might
design.
review Resident Evil at some point because that game.
I'd be like right at tit level.
No, you wouldn't. You'd be fucking like belly button level. Lily's like fucking 8 feet tall.
I thought she was only 7 feet tall. No, she's 9 feet tall.
Oh yeah, she's like 9 feet tall.
She's 9 feet. You're right. I'd be like cooter level.
Nice. I did think the show could use it could have used more infected though, like scenes. I don't know. I like they designed them so well. Like I kind of wish they fought them more.
I mean, I think realistically, the less they came in contact with, the higher their survival rate.
Yeah,
rate
no,
is.
they were clearly trying to avoid that area.
Yeah.
But oh man, they're such a good enemy.
The clickers are my favorite. The bloaters are probably my least favorite. I don't find them super interesting. I mean, it makes sense and it's fun, but
yeah,
they weren't very. I liked the clickers. It was such a good mechanic.
It's regular infected, clickers, and bloaters are the only ones in the first game. They expand on it a little bit more in the second game, I believe. I've only played the second game once. I really liked it, but I just haven't had time to play it again.
Yeah, I tried playing the second one. But a little note about me is I'm really bad at games.
You were doing all right.
No, I was not.
You were doing okay.
I couldn't even remember the controls.
You couldn't remember the character names was the bigger problem.
What do you mean? There was Johnny Love and...
Yeah, there's a bunch of names you made up.
Yeah. Well, I was making my own story for them.
Yeah, I think I still have some of the recordings somewhere.
Oh, well, we'll just gloss over those.
Maybe if we ever review the second season or the second game, we'll discuss that more, but...
I am really bad at games, though.
You
I
couldn't
like to
play
watch
through this.
other people play. I was doing what are those called on YouTube? They're so popular.
I don't know.
Where you watch someone else play. Let's Plays.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching Let's Plays before Let's Plays were a thing, okay? I'd invite my friends over and ask them to play Mario for me because I couldn't play it, but I wanted to see where this was going. Oh, my summer best friend, Richie. Shout out to Richie. He loved 007, so I watched him play through all the 007 games.
I just wasn't good at video games. Still not great at them.
Yeah, I used to always have a friend who was good at video games, and they would play through games for me.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people they play games on hardcore, super hard. I can only play games on normal. I like a little bit of a challenge, but I'm not good enough to go any further.
I get frustrated playing Animal Crossing because I've forgotten the 3 buttons you use in that one simple game.
Yeah, I can't.
And I played for hours. I'll forget the buttons after I've played for this one game for 7 hours. I don't have a good mind for buttons.
The harder thing is we'll be playing Minecraft, and it literally tells you on the screen what button to press. It's there, because we just play console Minecraft. We're not on the PC or anything. It tells you, or press this button.
Yeah, I get freaked out, though, anytime there's, mobs. And we have to play with mobs, or it's, completely uninteresting for Jordan. I just build giant things.
Yeah.
But I only like to build in survival. I don't like to build in creative. I like to still gather all the materials and whatnot.
Yeah, it was still a little bit of a challenge.
I would just play on peaceful personally, but we play together. We got to make it interesting for both of us. And I die every other day, Minecraft day, not regular day.
Just like people in The Last of Us, bringing it back in. Another thing I thought was cool was the actress who played Marlene, who's the leader of the Fireflies, was also the voice actress for the game character. And when I first saw her in the TV show, I didn't know that, and I was like, wow, they did a really good job, Kat. Like, she's perfect for Marlene.
Well, you know what they did do a really good job is the animators in the show recreating her.
I also thought it was cool that they included both Joel and Ellie's voice actors in the game.
Oh, yeah. How was Joel? I know how Ellie was incorporated. How was Joel incorporated?
You know the cannibal guy?
Yeah.
He was like the cannibal guy's sidekick.
Oh,
he was that when you remember that part in the game where you first meet him and
I
shoots the deer,
remember.
and he's like, "You go back, get the medicine." He's the guy that goes and gets the medicine.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was cool. Like, they both had parts in it, and I immediately recognized the actress who plays Ellie, like, her voice.
We gotta take a pause.
Taking a pause.
Sorry about that. Weird delay there.
Okay, there was a pause, but we were talking about Ellie and the voice actress who played Ellie. I thought incorporating her as Ellie's mom in the show was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it really made sense. She was going to be way too old.
Yeah, but she gave life to that character in 2 different ways, and I thought that was cool. But I also, I immediately recognized her voice as soon as she was on screen. I was like, that's Ellie.
Yeah.
Like, I had not seen the actress in a while.
I had never seen her. I mean, I really liked how they designed her in the video game, and I thought the girl who plays her in the show was a good pick.
Yeah, it was Bella Ramsey, who I don't actually know her for much. I know she was in Game of Thrones, which was super popular, but I never watched Game of Thrones.
I also did not watch Game of Thrones.
But
to no one's surprise.
She seemed like a good choice for the character. Like, I liked her as Ellie.
Can we get a counter for how many things that I go, I've never seen that?
No, because I have to keep track of it, and I don't want to do that.
Oh, man.
But because it's most things. You have not seen most things.
I still think it would be funny, like how in Dragon Ball Z Abridged there's a Krillin owned account.
Yeah, but then I have to keep track of that. I edit this. And you've not seen anything.
I've seen a lot of Jackie Chan movies.
If it's a Jackie Chan movie, you've probably seen it. But if it's anything else, there's a high chance you haven't seen it.
I've also seen a lot of old anime. Not new anime. I'm not up to date on new anime.
80s, 90s anime.
Man, I love 80s, 90s anime. And I keep not getting up to date on new anime because I just keep watching old anime. It's my favorite. It's my jam.
Just an update. If you watched the Hercules episode, we mentioned we were watching Yu Yu Hakusho. I'm still watching it. Still pretty good.
I'm still loving it. Honestly, I can't wait for it to be over so we can review it because I would love to review Yu Yu Hakusho.
It is quite a ridiculous show.
It's good.
But yeah, we're getting towards the end here, wrapping up. I thought that both the game and the show, though there were differences, were both really good and very clearly part of the same kind of world.
Well, that's often a heavy criticism on media transforming from one form to another, is that it's different. But I actually like that. If I read a book that I loved and I watch the movie form of it, I don't want it to be exactly the same. I would like to live this story with some new surprises,
It doesn't always work, but
No, there's sometimes it's just slaughter, and that's slaughter.
With the Lord of the Rings movies, I thought they did a good job. Those movies are awesome. The books are good, but the movies are great.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings is a pretty good example, but they still keep pretty close to the general storyline.
Yeah. I think another good example, though, would be the Harry Potter series. Because I didn't like the books. I don't think the author is that great at writing. I think she had a good idea, but I think she kind of sucks. And she does kind of suck.
I honestly think the writing goes downhill. I read all of the books, and I wasn't an obsessed Harry Potter fan. It wasn't a big part of my childhood. I read them all together back to back once they were all out and I was in high school, and they were very popular. I wanted to know what it was about. I enjoyed the read. I will say I thought the writing got worse.
I couldn't make it past the first chapter of the book. And I watched all the movies. I thought the movies were fun. I thought they were good.
I did not watch all the movies. I read all the books. I think I watched the first 3 movies, and I really dropped off. I went, that was cool. Again, it was not a franchise that really caught my eye.
No.
At all.
But as far as adaptation goes, I feel like it was a pretty good adaptation.
Yeah.
It was probably one of the most successful adaptations to ever exist.
It's true, but I mean, I guess my point is it doesn't have to be like both Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter are in general pretty true to their source material.
Yeah, they
I'm talking
mostly
about
leave
something
stuff
more
out.
like the original, I think it was like 1952 Alice in Wonderland versus the book by Lewis Carroll. There are some major differences.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And it really, really diverts from the plot of the book quite a bit, and it mixes in the second book whenever it feels like, and it's a very different experience, not the same story. But it not being the same story, it still keeps the integrity of the world and the characters, and I still enjoy reliving this story in a different form, and I don't think either are worse because of it.
That's how I felt about The Last of Us. I enjoyed the game, and I honestly, after watching the show, it just made me want to play the game again. Like, and I had just finished it.
you really
I did not
had.
play it again because I didn't want to. I couldn't experience that much sadness. But like, I liked how they were different.
Help you were replaying The Last of Us when we watched Paranoia Agent.
Oh yeah. I don't know if we'll ever review Paranoia Agent. That show's a lot.
It was good. We both liked it.
Very good. If you want to watch it though, make sure you're not depressed. Because you're done. That show, it's in some ways it's way worse than The Last of Us.
Well, yeah, because it's not an apocalypse. It's showing us the worst of our society, and though these characters are fake, these types of people are real. And it's a hard look at society, and it's not pretty.
Yeah, there seems to be a supernatural element to it, but it is not a supernatural story.
No, the story is about people and their struggles. And Jordan's right. If you are depressed, don't watch this show. Yeah. Just don't.
I thought
it affected
The
me.
Last of Us, the game, one of my favorite games. And then the show, great adaptation, one of the best I've seen especially for a video game adaptation who does not get the most love.
No, I mean, we just watched Super Mario Bros. 1993. Please go listen to that episode. It's just fun.
But like as far as a movie based on a game, shit, it is a terrible. Yeah. It's a terrible movie.
It doesn't make any sense.
But if you watch it, knowing what it is, it kind of can't help but love it. It's kind of like it's kind of a great movie.
Yeah, but yeah, The Last of Us is a great show and it's a great game. And both are worth your time.
I would say
they're not the same thing, but they don't have to be.
If you haven't played it, but you play video games and you have a PlayStation, play The Last of Us.
I would rate this on my scale of cats as a Persian cat. Okay, it's sad. It's sad, but it's lovable.
Stupid little squish faces.
Yeah, and it's kind of miserable itself, but I love it. That's a good-looking cat. Also. It's a good-looking cat. So, The Last of Us is a Persian cat on my scale of cats.
Sad, but
lovable.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely some sort of experience it in some way, whether you play the game or watch the show. There's a lot we left out. There's still a lot to take in.
Right. Yeah. There is a lot that we didn't touch on.
Just don't really have the time to touch on everything.
Oh, neat thing. If you look up The Last of Us on, like, what was it, Google?
Oh, yeah. If you Google The Last of Us, I Googled The Last of Us series because I wanted some information about the show to refresh. And there's like a little mushroom button that appears, and you press it, you keep pressing it, and it like infects your phone.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Like a fungal mushroom thing. It's pretty neat. Like they did that.
Yeah.
Just discovered that today.
All right. I think
that'll be it.
Yes.
Subscribe to us on YouTube. Like the video.
Subscribe to us on any podcast listening.
Yeah, rate us 5 stars, all the stars, so many stars.
Maybe think about subscribing. You don't have to do it yet, but like think about it.
Oh, you could do it. Subscribe, follow us on Instagram.
Maybe suggest us to someone else you think would enjoy
this nonsense.
Our company. Because I'm here for you and to tell you what not to watch when you're depressed.
Yeah, it's not don't watch The Last of Us.
Don't watch Paranoia Agent.
Do listen to this podcast.
Yes, we're for the depressed. For the depressed, by the depressed.
Okay.
I'm here for you
Yes.
and myself.
Yeah, but rate, subscribe, like.
High ratings only, though, please.
I'll take any ratings at this point.
I want just the high one, so split that 50-50.
50-50, 3 stars everywhere. That's it. We're a 3-star podcast.
Yeah, I'll be a 3-star podcast. Anyways, I hope you have a good night or morning or evening or whatever time of day it is for you.
Bye.